Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, wherever you might be across the US. Shoot, maybe some of our international partners are joining today too. Hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are.
You got big plans this weekend, Jacob?
I will probably just be watching the NBA playoffs. Is probably what my weekend will consist of. So don't know if we have any NBA fans out there, but that will be what my weekend consists of.
Love that.
What's the NBA? Just kidding.
Well, for me, it's what all of my time goes to: sports, and more sports. So
For those of you who don't know on the call, I am a diehard classic rock music gal. Sports, not so
no,
much.
not you.
Uh, Elizabeth love a little sports ball, huh?
Oh gosh. Yeah, sports ball. That's what I call it. All right, we're just going to give it a little bit more. Everyone getting settled. I know we've got some people coming in. We absolutely want to make sure we're respectful of everyone's time. We know it's a crazy time of year, getting up to graduations or the holiday coming up this weekend. So we want to make sure we start pretty soon and get you guys some good content and get you guys on your way.
I have a crush on Post Malone.
I think everyone does. He's great. So
He's the coolest.
he's a cool guy. All right, shall we do this, gentlemen?
Let's do it.
I love it. Well, y'all, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. We know asking for 30 minutes, 45 minutes of your time, that's a big ask. And you guys are probably out doing sales and trainings and connecting with clients and the whole 9 yards. So really excited about today's webinar, and we have the most fantastic special guest with us. Topic: effectively managing Q2 for year-end success. I cannot believe we're almost halfway through 2024.
Absolutely.
Let that sit for a little bit. That's just wild. But I tell you what, there's some fantastic momentum. There's some fantastic opportunities happening right now in this quarter and at the beginning of Q3 that are really going to be able to catapult your sales teams, your market, into some great successes in terms of revenue with digital as you start closing out the back half of the year. So excited to get into those details today. Introduction, my name is Elizabeth Fernberg. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development here at AdCellerant. I am joined by two of some of my favorite people ever, Mr. Ben Bauslag, our Vice President of Business Development, and the one and only Jacob Deaton, who is just the man with the plan, an account manager with all the answers, working with our fantastic partners. He is our special guest today and really going to be adding in a lot of color, a lot of insight on his own conversations and how he really works together with our partners to understand what that growth plan should be like, right? When we talk about year-end success and what to do today, what industries to focus on to really make sure the end of year is going to be just rock solid. And then, of course, we come back to starting up 2025 with full-blown momentum.
I can't
So,
wait. I'm excited because Jacob's in the weeds with these folks every single day. I also look at that picture of Jacob. He looked like a wee lad in that photo we have of him. Uh, you look like you become a dad since then, Jacob.
It's funny you say that because I have, and 8 weeks now, so naturally I know everything at this point. No, I'm still very much flying by the seat of my pants, but hey, he is alive and getting huge, so I'm doing something right. So
That's what I'm talking about. We'll see if we can keep this webinar short and sweet and give you a couple minutes back to sleep. Maybe grab a nap for your next meeting.
dude, thank you so much.
What do we got on the agenda for today, E?
agenda, my friends. All right, we love to set the stage right? Make sure we've got a foundation and good just talking points, what we're going to be talking about today. So what is happening actually in Q2? Like what is really helping us, make sure that as we approach Q3, as we approach the craziness of Q4, which is practically going to be tomorrow, since I feel like yesterday was Christmas, this is going to be really important to have a plan in place, right? To ensure that success. And a big talking point that we're going to dive into today are industry trends. Who's trending right now from a categorical standpoint right now and spending marketing dollars? And then who has it kind of coming up, right, in terms of their budgets? We'll dive into revenue pools and making sure that y'all are tapping into political. This is the gargantuan year of all years in terms of political spend. Every single media outlet out there and everyone here on this call should be getting a piece of that political pie. So we'll be talking about some of the stats there and some ways to really approach that with your team on a local level, of course, as well as regional and even national. Then we'll dive into some forecasting best practices. This is a numbers game. Everything that we do with sales, with momentum, with growth, any gap plans, this is all a numbers game. And shoot, it's a big part of what we do here at AdCellerant, understanding what not only today's going to be or this week or this month, but what does the next month look like from a forecasting standpoint? What about 2 months from now? How can we make sure we're setting up the entire company and team for success by understanding and really knowing our numbers inside and out? So we've got some great best practices there. And then we'll round it out with leveraging your resources, AKA Jacob, your amazing account managers, if you're partners, really leaning into just the amazing people that you work with on a day-to-day basis. But they're also fantastic tools that AdCellerant provides that create just a lot of efficiencies internally, but give you a lot of that business intelligence. So when you're talking to clients, you've got great data, great insights to have a really qualified conversation and start that momentum. And then of course, Q&A, right? Q&A can be really at any time. We're recording this webinar. So we want to make sure that it's as conversational as possible. So we encourage any questions that y'all might have, please put in that chat or question feature in Zoom, and Ben and or myself will be sure to check that out, and we'll kind of give pause and address those questions, and definitely want to put Jacob on the spot and have him answer a few as well.
Let's do it on the fly. Make sure you go follow us on LinkedIn too.
100%. All the social media channels. Absolutely. Quick overview on who AdCellerant is. And again, we know we have some fantastic partners on here, but I see a lot of people that we don't know yet. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. And AdCellerant, who we are in a nutshell, we are a technology and a digital marketing company. And our goal, our tour de force, our war cry, if you will, is to make the complexities in the digital space as simple, as streamlined as possible for our partners, and most importantly, for the end advertiser, for SMBs in the marketplace. And we truly believe and we truly execute on delivering, best-in-class digital marketing solutions, Madison Avenue tactics, capabilities to Main Street businesses. That is exactly what we do. We're based here in Denver. We're a white labeled provider partner. We really offer the full gamut of capabilities, all sorts of products and solutions from a digital standpoint. And we've created a just phenomenal software toolkit that oversees that entire digital sales process, making your lives a lot easier, very streamlined, efficient, to also make sure that your business from a digital standpoint is able to scale with ease, right? And has the ability and transparency to access the data and information that you need to provide to your advertisers. We've got lots of fun, kudos and accolades. You guys can check us out on our website or on our social media pages. At the end of the day, we absolutely love what we do. We love working with our media partners, and we're working with about 500 right now from across the US, small international footprint, but it's really what the partners are doing in their local marketplaces that make us, just so excited to work with you guys every single darn day. So that is AdCellerant in a nutshell. Here are our capabilities and tactics. And, if you have not visited one of these webinars or recordings before, this is your first time kind of learning about AdCellerant, reach out to us. We'd love to have a discovery exploratory conversation, learn more about your company, your current digital infrastructure or ecosystem, and what your goals are, right? How can we find some way to align together and support your initiatives? That being said, I'm like the talking, bobbling head here, right? Bah, bah, bah. So I'm going to kick it to Ben to help set the stage. And let's start off with the importance of Q2.
Absolutely. So first off, I think these are things that a lot of us are doing on a regular basis, but we need to be smart about how we're evaluating kind of like where we're at today, where we want to be, and putting a plan into place on making sure that we can get there, right? Jacob, you're doing this, I know, on a regular basis with a lot of your partners that you're working with right now, whether it's a bi-weekly phone call that you just kind of touch on these points, or you're having a more strategic, quarterly business review, biannual or annual business review, anything like that. But we need to be deliberate about making sure it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time bound. We got to put some constraints on it to make sure that we can actually get to those pieces, right? So on this next slide, as we're thinking about these things, I want Jacob to kind of take a moment to think about how he's bringing and share with us how he's bringing these pieces to our partners today to make sure that I always like to consider Jacob and his colleagues, like a pseudo digital sales manager, right? The beautiful part about it is that you don't have to pay Jacob's salary; we'll do it for you. So, Jacob, how are you kind of hosting these biweekly phone calls right now with your customers, your partners, and making sure that they're filling their pipelines with the right targets, they're following through with them, and going after the right pieces to get to where we want to get to at the end of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. So working on those biweeklies, it's one of my favorite things to get to do. Reason being is that whenever you're going into any of these conversations, the last thing I want to do is to be very cookie cutter in my response. Right. And so whenever we're looking at the things that are coming up, like looking here at seasonality, so, back to school, football, holidays, HVAC, every single partner that I talk to, that may not be what they do. But one of the cool things that I bring into the conversation that a lot of my partners appreciate is saying, all right, great. Here are the 2 or 3 things. Like if you're a partner in South Florida, it's hot as heck there right now. So let's make sure that we're talking to some HVAC companies. Or if you have a specific thing going on in your market, making sure that you understand what are the data, what are the trends, where is that industry really going, and being able to step into that situation and say, all right, how can we equip your sales team to be able to know how to talk about that industry? What solution should we be talking about? Because the last thing that we want to do, and really what success looks like for me, is reps on a team for a partner that I work with on my book would be able to be the big dog going into that conversation. And again, that's what I really pride myself in, is like, hey, as much as I would be more than happy to go onto that sales call with you, I don't always get to go. And so if maybe I'm not able to go into that sales call with them and be that white label team member like Elizabeth was talking about in the beginning, I'm happy to even get on and do, role playing. Role playing is something that, again, I love to do. And that's one thing that I actually, if it's not for just getting on the sales calls, role playing and being able to talk through some of those objections has been one of my big things that I've been trying to prep my partners with, again, as we head into Q2. And we're looking at some of these industries that, again, they're not really, HVAC is definitely in right now, but like holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, things like that. A lot of those opportunities are being sold right now. They're not being sold in Christmas. So making sure that we are being proactive rather than reactive. And again, that's one of the cool things that we really bring into the conversation.
I want to lead us into this next slide here, because you actually mentioned it right when you began talking. It's like following through with trends, using data to make sure that we're going after the right pieces of business at the right time, being proactive about it. Let's talk about what's trending now. What pieces of business with all of your partners, and like you said, not everybody's going to be the same, right? Not everybody works with the same type of business. So we can get strategic and calculate ourselves a little bit more deliberately on like who we're going after when it comes to a per partner basis that we're working with. But these are some of the ones I think, Jacob, that you're talking about pretty regularly with some of our general partners.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the main ones, again, we have education listed here, but the one that I'm seeing just absolutely explode, again, we could talk about all of these on here in length, probably could have a whole webinar series on these industries. But in the interest of time, one that I'm really excited about right now is automotive. automotive, I'm seeing just rapidly change in so many different ways. And I was just reading an article the other day that the average, it was a Bloomberg article, if you're interested to look it up, that the average sale price of a car is $47,000, which
my
is
God.
just, it's mind-boggling to me. It's like, holy crap, how the heck am I going to pay for that baby to have a car in 16 years? But regardless, though, what does that mean for you guys? And what does that mean for me? When we see a market change, that's an opportunity, whether it's a negative market change or a positive market change. So for me, what I'm seeing in these conversations when I'm trying to teach my partners is, hey, for those legacy automakers like your Chevys, or again, let's just use Chevy, they have way more inventory on their lots than they've ever had. It's costing them a crap ton of money. So what can we do in the meantime? So something that I actually had recently was with a Chevy dealer, where we were able to get them on $5K per month over 6-month period. And we're just targeting using their first party data. We're targeting people who have been in their CRM. So people who have purchased cars from them within the last year, to try to get them on service appointments. So we're really hounding the service appointments to try to make up for some of what's lacking on the new car sales side. Now, granted, we're working on that too, but that's just one of the things that we're able to do to be able to answer the call for some of the struggles that we're seeing in the marketplace.
Interesting. So I want to make sure we can tie up these last couple of industries that we actually had put on here. I know these are pretty big right now. You see, before the end of the year, finance is going to be picking back up. Your food and drink tends to start to dip around this time, just as a slight slowdown before you get into the holiday season again. And one thing, I know, Jacob, you have a handful of these types of customers, and we actually have a lot of partners with these types of customers, but PI law firms, and not just PI, but really any type of law firm, right? One product in particular that's super, super conducive for these guys is our SEO products. If they're not using SEO on a regular basis to be found on those search engines, they're having a hard time getting into there. So, we want to make sure that we're providing solution-oriented products to them. Your programmatic campaign may not always be the thing that's going to be that silver bullet to help their phone ring, get the form fills in, or see their business really grow. It definitely provides lift to eventually aid to those lower funnel tactics. But at the same time, we want to make sure we're doing the right thing for them there. So we'll share this deck with everybody afterwards, like Elizabeth mentioned, and we want you guys to take advantage of these different industry trends that we have, so that you can start focusing in on, maybe dialing in your prospect list based off of what you're seeing here with these industry trends.
100%.
What do we got coming up on the next slide, Z?
I actually had a quick question for
yeah.
Jacob. So
Yes.
something that I think is super important, Ben, you kind of touched on it right there in terms of an omni-channel and multi-platform approach, right?
Mhm.
Because there might be some partners or prospects on this call that might be just focused on a couple tactics, right? That's their safe zone, is maybe 2 to 3 capabilities. So Jacob, as it relates to some of these hot industries, right, that can really help fuel the success for the back end of the year, how are you approaching, our current partners, explore and bring in that comfort level to adding new products to those proposal recommendations, and speaking to new solutions when talking to advertisers?
Yeah. So first thing I'll say is I'm a creature of habit too. So I get it. Honestly, it's like Groundhog Day around here for at least my house. So I get it wholeheartedly. But whenever I'm looking at ways to have those conversations, it really goes down to education. I mean, no one on this call, if you stick with 2 products, you don't stick with 2 products because you just stick with 2 products. It's what you trust, right? And so whenever you're trying to branch out, what I pride myself on doing and do a pretty good job of doing it is trying to say, all right, great. Why do we trust these 2 products? And, once I get that feedback, I'm able to say, all right, great. But have you ever thought about, if they've never done OTT or streaming TV, it's like, okay, great. Why is that maybe? And they're like, well, we don't really like inventory, or we really don't like this, or we really don't have XYZ. All right, great. Here's how we can meet them in the middle. So for me, it's trying to meet them in the middle, meet them where they are, but then at the same time, trying to educate and make sure, hey, it's it maybe isn't the big bad wolf that you think it is, or, you know, hey, I hear you. That's actually exactly what I would do too. Let's maybe look at this avenue instead. Because again, you guys know a lot of things sometimes better than we do, being boots on the ground. So even if we can't do maybe the thing that I'm after, again, I do like to look at some other avenues to maybe, again, compromise.
I I love that you said that, Jacob, because I think that that's something that can maybe get missed, the training component, the continued education component.
100%.
Because we're so you know, wrapped up in business for today and what's happening right now. And, you know, shoot, we're almost 6 months into the year and now we got to make sure we hit these end goals. It still goes back to the importance, to your point, that we've got to have open conversations, open discussion, and lean into that training and education piece and
1,000.
understand the why. So I love that you touch on that. And y'all, that's what AdCellerant does. You know, we're the extension of your team. We're able to you know, challenge you as well. And I think that's what really makes our partnership so successful, because you know, we're working collectively together for the best of your organization. And sometimes there needs to be some challenge in, you know, hey, tell me more about that. Why are you thinking
Yeah.
we should do video? So I love that, Jacob. Love it, love it. All right, changing of gears, but maybe not so much. A little, but maybe not. Squirrel, political opportunity. So, I mean, shoot, it's just ridiculous the amount of money that's going to be out there. I think I saw a most recent trend from eMarketer, anticipated of $16 billion for this political season, which just, I mean, y'all, the biggest one prior to that, I think, was at 9 billion or something. So we're almost double than that. Don't quote me on those numbers. We need to check eMarketer. But it's huge, right? And it's huge in every single state and every single market, because it's not just the presidential side, right? It's not just what's happening with these huge high level advocacy and big kind of initiatives, right? That state governments might also be focusing on. This is also back down to local level, right? This is your state, this is your sheriff, this is your local you know, board of directors for maybe your school board. This is very, very localized. And where do those local candidates, those local issues go to for anything, right? For content, for support when it comes to marketing, for, you know, connection with the community? They go to you. So 2024, I mean, this is just some, you know, numbers here. Political, if you all do not have a strategy tied to a political focus, and what that would look like with your core, and then the growth revenue, right? The digital revenue, I encourage, plead, put that in place. Because you do not want to miss out on the opportunity that you have with this. And it really goes back to, I mean, all the amazing capabilities that we have with digital, from, you know, the reach, the frequency, the targetability. This is stuff that candidates, right, and issues and maybe nonprofits and advocacy groups, they want this kind of stuff, right? And they also need that transparent reporting. They need to show the proof is in the pudding, right? That their spend was effective and moving the needle in the right way, connecting with potential voters or constituents in the marketplace. So super, super important, y'all, that we just really start taking on political, period, right? And it should be really a strategy every single year. There should be something, you know, whether it's localized or regional, and even if it's not a, you know, a political year, there are always some of these dollars out there in the marketplace. So we want to just make sure that we're hitting that home here. And I want to turn the mic back over to Jacob, because I think where a lot of partners, and Jacob, you know, you work with, you know, so many of our partners. I think they get kind of nervous with political, like, how do I start kind of reaching those specific audiences, and what does that mean to my core? Like, I want to make sure I'm selling them print, or I'm selling them broadcast as opposed to these digital things. Like, how are you really positioning the digital opportunity with your partners right now? And how are we approaching, you know, ways to target these unique audiences?
Yeah. So whenever I step into these conversations, again, working with a lot of print print partners, working with broadcast, again, digital agencies, again, across the board. But for those who have those core pieces to their business, I am never going to be the advocate for replacing it. Hardly ever. Because again, really, when I see digital work best is when it runs alongside a lot of those traditional tactics. So for me, I kind of have a saying that really the digital only makes your traditional work harder at the end of the day. And so whenever I go into these conversations, it's important to know that while maybe it intimidates you that like, hey, this political advertiser that I've been working with for the last 5 years, they're starting to talk about pulling some of their budget back. Why may that be? Oftentimes it's because they are wanting the specificity that digital provides. And so if the money is going to be either moved in some capacity, let's make sure it stays with us. So that's really one way that I've been really positioning that, and really so far has provided quite a bit of success. And so like, for example, I just dealt with a advocacy group here in the US, and what we actually ended up doing is we were able to reach women who are swing voters, for example, because again, that is a massive thing, especially it was on the more national scale, but even for your more local levels, just to kind of circle back to what E was saying in the beginning, is that do not forget those local those local political races. Those again are making up the majority of really what we're seeing. So definitely do not forget those when you're having those conversations. So.
Love it. Love it. And as we continue the conversation and making sure, all right, we've got industries we're hitting, we know what's trending now, we know what's trending up, can't forget political. It is, about to inundate our screens everywhere. Make sure you're a part of that pie. How do you put all these numbers together, right? Forecasting. How are you, and I'm sure everyone here has their best practices. You might have, tools internally that you guys are using, whether it's some sort of, customer service management tool or CRM. It could be just, Excel, or even some kind of, accounting tool. Whatever you're using, forecasting is going to be your best friend now, and really getting into the weeds of your numbers. Right. So I'm going to kick the can over to Ben, and kind of, ask you, Ben, in terms of forecasting. And I want to make sure Jacob also is adding some color here too. What do we see here at AdCellerant? Because I think it's always good sharing kind of best practices across the board. What do you recommend in terms of forecasting are good places to start?
Yeah, well, first off, bullet point number one is an absolute necessity. You need to have at least a 3-month minimum forecast out. So even like just what's in your pipeline now, what do you anticipate closing, not just this month, but next month and the following month? What are all of those things actually worth? How are they going to help lead to those goals? If you can go further out, that's awesome. But a lot of times it's a little tougher because, it's tougher to plan something a little bit like 4 months out, even when you don't have agreement with contacts, or maybe you haven't even had a meeting or even know who that prospect is quite yet, right? But the closer you can get to forecasting these things out, the better it's going to be to making sure that you're well on your way and you're tracking to hit those goals that you have. The second bullet point of just like empowering your account executives and sellers to bring this information forward is so great. We even do this at AdCellerant, where we enable and train and teach our team how to forecast their own book of business. Yes, their managers can do it for them, but when you have these reps and these account executives and the Jacobs of the world, even the Elizabeths and Bens of the world, doing this ourselves, we have that much more control of our own book of business. That means the managers, you guys that are on the phone call today, if you are a manager, they're doing your job, and then you can focus on what you're making happen there. So you're more efficient with your time. And then when you're able to empower and train and give these people a little bit more leeway, you're probably going to have, better relationships first off, but second off, you're probably going to be doing better at tracking to your goals as well. Yeah. Always, always, always use the tools available to you. Whether it's Salesforce, whether you need to create a tracking document. Everybody loves a good G sheet. Make sure that you're leveraging those things. Our leadership teams, our executives, they don't put them together for fun. They want us to use them because they'll make our lives easier. They'll make the forecasting better. We'll be more dialed in on those things. So that way we know the way we're tracking is the way we're going to hit. And then if there's anything that comes in outside of that, it should be gravy, right? So these are great ways that you guys can focus on your forecasting when you're working with your Jacobs of the world. I know, Jacob, you have a dedicated like Tableau report for every
Yeah,
single one of your partners.
absolutely.
I can't remember if we actually put it in this presentation,
I don't.
Elizabeth, but what are those things in that Tableau report that you can share with your partners to not just talk about what's being forecasted, but how do we replicate that month of June from last year that was absolutely stellar? Or how do we uncover these things? Or how are we making sure that we're having renewal conversations with those campaigns that are going to be ending at the end of May? Tell us a little bit
Absolutely.
about that one, Jacob.
Yeah. So this Tableau report, honestly, it's just like I loved it ever since we rolled it out, because what it allows me to do with my partners, I can tell you everything from the amount of proposals that are being generated. And, like, for example, if we see that the month of June says, hey, great, we saw this stellar month in the month of June. All right, cool. But we saw our highest proposal month in the month of June. Is that a coincidence? Probably not. And so being able to step into those conversations, and what I can do and do actually do every single month, is we will send over a report to see what's expiring over the next 3 months, so that I send that over to the leadership team, to the individual reps, so that you guys kind of have that pressure taken off of your shoulders, so that you know that the AdCellerant team's able to jump in and be able to say, hey, we have this much expiring. These are the specific accounts that are expiring, and these are the specific products that are under each order that's expiring. And even within the platform itself, I'll say there are some really, truly amazing filtering options. And I know that might seem silly or corny, but I tell you, you will definitely be on my side and geeking out over it whenever I show you. And like within proposals or orders, you can be go in and you can check to see, all right, my proposals that are 5K or more in value, this is where they are. My proposals that are 10K or even, have these specific products in them, this is how, again, I want to filter it over here. And on the order side, if you want to always keep tabs with what orders are pending, what specific things are missing, again, when it comes to forecasting, we really allow you guys to keep a pretty consistent heartbeat on really what's going on, both through, doing it for you and sending things over to you, but then also just teaching you how to empower the rest of the team, like Ben was talking about with the tool itself.
I love it. I love all of that, because those of you who've joined some webinars that I've been on, I say this a lot. A lot of what goes into effective forecasting is a robust pipeline, right? The pipeline is the lifeline. Like, that's a huge component into how we're going to really recognize as real as we can numbers in the future. And our tool, just as Jacob was saying, there's so much of that available to you within UI.marketing, whether you're checking out the proposals in your pipeline or what's already been submitted as an order. Hey, do we have an opportunity for some incremental upsells with these, right? Or other, business intelligence that we can garner from other campaigns and add it to this for maybe additional dollars, right? Or an extension of the campaign past 3 months or 6 months. So fantastic tools, right at your fingertips. Love it. All right, resources for you. I mean, shoot, we just talked about, a fantastic resource, within the AdCellerant software tool and platform. But this is actually going to go back into, Mr. Ben.
I wanted to say real quick, there was a great question from
absolutely.
Nathaniel that came through. He asked if there's an integration from the reporting deals pipeline from our platform to other CRMs. And yes, we do have integrations to other CRMs. We should definitely open up that topic, and we could talk to you guys about that, whether it's for our print CRMs, some broadcast CRMs, or other types of CRMs. We do have some of those capabilities so that you can help align a lot of those things and keep track of your sales pipeline, not just within the AdCellerant platform, but within your platforms as well. So if you have questions about that, please reach out to us directly. We'll give you some more information on it.
Awesome. And keep us posted too. If you're curious about any other kind of integrations or certain platforms, that's the beauty of, what we do here with our engineering team and our tech that we've created ourselves. We're always exploring, what's going to be the next best fit for our partners. So let us know what you guys are working with, who you're working with. Resources, we've talked a lot about software, of course, which is amazing. But, software technology is still just a teammate. the crux of the success that we see with our partners, and achieving these goals, right, are having the Jacobs of the world work with them. It's the people power. It truly is. It's really the difference between a transactional provider that you work with and a true partnership that you have with people. So Jacob is so incredibly just a rock star, because he actually started on our onboarding team. So and then worked his way, through the ranks, and now he's account manager and just crushing it, just helping our partners on a daily basis. But tell us about the onboarding experience, and especially from your standpoint, and how that, as a resource, how that does help kind of build that momentum in setting the stage for digital revenue success.
Absolutely. So, gosh, I don't even know where to start. So, like you said, I mean, onboarding is sincerely just one of the best experiences that, I mean, obviously I had, but then seeing it through the eyes of our partners, I can tell you that the feeling was mutual with everyone that I worked with. And really what that boils down to is, no matter where you are on the spectrum, right? Let's say your digital competency for you and your team, it's great. But even if it's great, there's some handholding that's going to have to happen, whether it be from the platform. It's a lot of things to learn, and having someone who, it's not an automated thing. It's not, yes, there's some self-service, but having consistent time and training and access to a real live individual who not just can get on the calls, but wants to get on the calls. Something that, whether myself or any of my colleagues on the onboarding side, we were always annoying the heck out of our partners. Like, hey, how can we help you today? Not really annoying, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so absolutely. But whenever it comes to us, we will start off by having a training plan for you in mind. You actually can see a little clip of it there, a success plan. That's something that every single one of our partners get at the beginning of the onboarding process. And that's going to lay out everything from, hey, where do you see yourself in 6 months? Because the process takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months. There's a whole host of variables on why it may take longer or less or whatever. But laying out also, what does your sales team need right now? What do they know? What do they not want to know? And again, hopefully that list is a little smaller than maybe some others. But yeah, so whether it be the success plan, AdCellerant Academy, which is our awesome training platform that, again, we would be working out of, and your team would have access to and be able to work on their own time. But again, we would be working through it as well during our trainings over that 3 to 6 months. Training on, again, the platform, sales strategy, the solutions themselves, but then and then also UI.marketing, of course.
I needed to unmute myself. Apologies. And then of course that segues into, after your time with onboarding, again, with people working with people,
Absolutely.
it continues with your dedicated account manager. So every single one of our account managers has, things that, a unique muscle that they each have, right? And their unique approach with really supporting our partners. And, of course, we have, there's so many consistent things that we're doing, obviously, and we're singing from the same song sheet. But then there, those unique capabilities. So Jacob, share with us some of your, unique differentiators and what you're kind of bringing to the table for your partners that they maybe had never experienced before with maybe a previous digital provider that's kind of different.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the cool things about me, just kind of my background, is I like to say that I've sat in some pretty unique chairs in my time, and I've been the representative for a company that was working with an agency. I've worked for an agency that worked with a vendor who had clients, and now I'm on more of the vendor fulfillment side. So one of the cool things that I bring to the table is that I like to come into it and have a pretty good understanding of what everyone in the room is feeling. So I'm able to come in and have a very unique product offering, whether it be, hey, I get what this person is thinking. I think this is going to be the thing that will get the opportunity done. Or if, they're on the agency side, hey, we're a friend, not an enemy, sort of a thing. And, if we're on the fulfillment side, also being able to help with that as well. But as far as specific industries, things that I have proficiency in would be things like home services, political space, ironically enough. And really what I like to do in those situations is I'm able to come in and be able to say, hey, this is really what we're seeing. This is really what we're training, kind of like what we're talking about today. But something else that I do is I like to rope in other team members too, because like you said, Elizabeth, not every single person on the team is going to have every single answer. So, my superpower, in addition to, everything else that maybe I have done, it's also being willing to admit what I haven't done too. And that's something that you guys are going to notice about the AdCellerant team is that, there's really no room for ego. We're big on roping in other team members and being able to say, hey, Steven over here, he does a ton of work on HVAC. His whole background is automotive. I really think he would be great for this conversation, which again, is my director actually, and I rope him in all the time. So.
I love that. I just gave you that assist and man, you scored the goal. There's my soccer sports reference. The only sports reference I got for you.
Bloomberg, you're so impressive. No wonder,
Arne.
no wonder we hired you. No, I love that. And you know what? It's all about using our resources, right? I mean,
100%.
I think our team does an incredible job of it. Jacob, I remember when you were on the onboarding team with us a few years ago, or last year, whenever it was. It's all about leaning into the people that can help elevate you, right? And so it's about dividing and conquering. It's not like Jacob's your one and only, like, Jacob's out on vacation or he's on his paternity leave. You can't contact anybody. You got people that can come in there for you. On top of the account management team, go back to that last slide real quick, Elizabeth. We've got some absolutely stellar software solutions that help to streamline your entire digital agency solution. Whether you need to train inside of this, whether you need pre-sales tools to pull data to put in front of your customers as to say where they're missing the boat today and how they can hop on, whether you need to build a proposal with a new PowerPoint output that I might add that's customizable. It is absolutely stellar. If you don't know about it, ask us about it. Let us show you about it. It's awesome. Order everything, manage everything, communicate directly with the team, report on all these things, view all these things in custom views. And then you've got a smiling face like Jacob with baby Graham in the background, helping out as well. So absolutely stellar software solution. And, Elizabeth, the partnership starts here. How can people get started? What do they have access to?
Oh my goodness. First and foremost, we'd love to make the introduction, right? It all starts with just a discovery exploratory call, but it starts with people talking with people and getting to understand business, right? And what your pain points are. The also great success that our partners are having, it's because they're openly sharing with us what's working and what's not working within their organization. And we're kind of able to come in as the digital doctor, right? And put together the right prescription from a revenue standpoint, right? Or maybe it's processes, or maybe it's, streamlining other areas of, in the business or training and education or a combination of all of these things. That's what we do. So it is a culmination of the tools that we're able to provide. Of course, the stellar team. I've been here 4 years. This team is phenomenal. I literally genuinely care about every single one of these team members, and man, they deliver and they're passionate about what they do. They care, they are professionals, and they bring in fantastic experience, just like what Jacob was talking about and what he had, done in his prior life to AdCellerant. Those are golden nuggets that we're then able to apply to our partners, in conversation with them to help make their digital experience and, the campaigns for their advertisers that much better. I love it highlighted here. The AdCellerant team never quits. We absolutely do not. 10 years, we're 10 years old, a little bit older than that. And I tell you, we're thriving, and the best part of us thriving, that means our partners are really, really thriving. Take a look at this, 30% year over year digital revenue growth on average for partners across all of the verticals, whether it's broadcast, print, or agencies, direct, out of home, and then broadcasters, y'all are, taking, giving print some a run for their money here. You guys are averaging 52% in year over year digital revenue growth. This is about us working together. It's about understanding the obstacles, devising plans and solutions, open communication, challenging each other, and being accountable, right? Locking arms and making, making business happen. And at the end of the day, we're supporting local businesses in the marketplace. What can be better than that? So thank you. Thank you. We're about 15 minutes shy of the hour. Glad that we were able to have it a little bit shorter. Major thank you to Jacob. You are a rock star. Awesome. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. Go America.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
How do I end the webinar? Where is the end?